But my variant that I'm working on, I've got like 3 or 4 ideas, but I really want to make topology chess a thing where you play a game of chess on like a topological surface where you can change the connectedness dynamically as a move. So like it starts off like fairly Euclidean, and then you can like switch between like a torus. You can do Klein bottle chess, real projective space chess, spherical chess. And I would really, really, really love if anyone with any amount of programming ability with like Unity or some other like expertise to come up with a way that like a program that enables you to actually visualize and like rotate the board around. It doesn't even have to implement the game rules in like a sophisticated way, because it would be, I could come up with a rule set that's like, okay, all you need is 2 regular chessboards and you can play it in real life. And just trust me when I say that the rules that I'm describing to you in this weird way result in actually the topology that I'm talking about. You know, like, yeah, if the boards connect this way, we're in a Klein bottle now. Just trust me, wink. Versus seeing the Klein bottle and like the pieces, it's like hugely different, right? That's the difference between something that like 3 of you will have the patience to watch half a game of versus like a YouTube video that will like go viral. You know what I mean? Not that that's my goal, but you get what I'm trying to say, right? It's more satisfying. More people can like actually enjoy and access the variant that I come up with, which I think is like a cool mathy thing that I haven't seen before and unique. So this is an open invitation to anyone. DM me if you feel like it's in any way feasible for you to help me make a version of this and like you have the time for that. Here's my idea. Okay, so there's a chessboard here on one half of the screen. Okay, so like chess happens here, right? There's like a pawn. Here's like a horsey here. Oh God. So let's say that the topology in this moment is Klein bottle, okay? And then over here is, fuck me. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna do my best. So far, so okay. I'm trying so hard right now. You know what? That's okay. I'm proud of that. That'll do, okay? This is vaguely what I'm envisioning, and this is where it all goes to shit. Okay, so there's like a grid here that's like the checkerboard, and we'll only do like a little bit of this. It's hard to draw non-orientable spaces, okay? Like, cut me a break. And so all I want, you can visualize that like this pawn is here. You know what I mean? And you can like rotate this view around and shit, right? Do you get what I'm saying? And not only can you rotate it, you can also like scroll. So, you know, you can like slice it and immerse it into like, you can take the 2D projection of it in like multiple ways. I know that sounds crazy like mathematically, but I think it's not like that hard to do. Is this game supposed to be played? It depends on your interpretation of, I guess, like neurodivergence. So are the pieces to move on the surface of the Klein bottle? Yeah, like so when you make a move, you know, like pawn, okay, it's non-orientable, so I don't know how you do the, like, you make a coordinate space that makes some degree of sense to someone at some point in time. And then you have like, okay, my pawn will now move here. And then correspondingly, like on this Klein bottle, you'll see the pawn move. Like you don't necessarily have, like ideally you would be able to make the move by highlighting the piece like on either the Klein bottle or on like the 2D board. And it shows you like the moves, which I think shouldn't be that much of a stretch. Or if it's easier, you can just make the moves on a 2D board and then have the corresponding update for like basically just wrap that around a Klein bottle, which I think isn't too bad. I had a topology like grad student who was teaching a class that I was in who was fucking crazy, and I think wore 2 watches on 1 arm, like his whole life. Something about time dilation? I'm not sure. Let's not go down that road. But he like wrapped an image that we drew of like a meme, like freehand, around a Klein bottle in like DirectX 9, which he programmed in like a way that was like you could like do what I'm kind of trying to discuss. He fell off the face of the earth. I genuinely do not know like where that person is now. So I can't reach out to him anymore. Man, that motherfucker, he was so crazy. I really liked him. He gave us 1 homework assignment the entire year. They were rated by like how easy the problems are, and you just had to like do work on some number of problems to like cobble together a grade. 3 of the problems on his 25 question like or 15 question homework set, where he was like, just do whichever one of these you feel like, were like unsolved problems in topology, or problems that were like really hard. Like I remember one of the problems that were like one of the hardest problems, because I thought, I'm lazy, instead of doing a bunch of easy problems, I'll just do like 1 really hard problem, which ended up taking me like way longer than it would have taken anyone to do any of the problems, obviously. But the problem was like, how many topologies are there on the set of real numbers? And I think my answer was, if you like submit to the continuum hypothesis, Aleph 3, I think, like not Aleph not or continuum, but like the next step, like Aleph subscript 3. Listen, I need caffeine and also to go to the bathroom. Oh. I remember physics professor asked just 1 question about a relativistic crash of 2 objects. One of them was a student. The correct answer involved everything from plasma physics to complex fluid dynamics. Man, I had a similar... I can't go on that rant. It's gonna take too long. You know what? I will tell that story. When it comes to higher education, there is quite a broad gamut of instructional styles, let's say. Especially when you get to like upper level courses in any discipline, especially disciplines that aren't very heavily studied, there's suddenly very little oversight in terms of like the curriculum, at least in a lot of places. And professors get to really kind of freestyle and just do whatever the fuck they want, right? So I had this professor in like the highest level undergrad classical mechanics course. This guy, he would lecture, and actually his lectures were all right. He would like teach out of a book. His evaluation methodology though was fucking insane. All of the exams were like open note, open book, open everything. His exams were, you are allowed to bring anything that you want to the exam. I think you're not allowed to bring anything that lets you communicate with other people. So it's just information that you yourself can consume. Everything is fair game, including like scores of printouts of solved problems in the field. And the strategy was basically ask these impossible questions where you don't really have, none of the students actually have many hopes of solving any of them, but based on like the way that they show that they are thinking about the problem, however incorrect it is, you like blow them the fuck up. They're in 1,000 pieces, and then you like pick up the remaining shards of student that they've left on the page and cobble together a grade based on that. He asked a problem on an exam that, like, after reading his solution, I still didn't understand. And after, to this day, I still think about that problem sometimes, and I like give it to people. And I'm like, how would you solve this actual problem that I was actually asked in an undergraduate exam? The question is this. Okay, so if you have a raindrop and it's falling through the cloud, if it sees another raindrop that's sufficiently small, then the smaller raindrop will simply be pushed out of the way due to like the laminar flow in the locality of the first raindrop. So you have tiny little raindrop, big raindrop comes in, and it pushes the small raindrop out of the way. And it keeps falling. Or if the raindrop is falling and it sees a sufficiently big raindrop, then the bigger raindrop won't get pushed out of the way enough. So what will end up happening is the raindrops collide and they accrete and they become one bigger raindrop and they continue moving downward that way, right? So there are two scenarios when a raindrop is falling and it encounters a second raindrop. It's either encountering a raindrop small enough that it doesn't collide or big enough that it definitely does collide. The question is, what is the critical radius where a raindrop will begin to collide with that other raindrop versus get pushed out of the way due to the laminar flow of the air? You have no equations given to go off of. It's not a fluid mechanics class. Like, it's like basic first principles that you have to, we don't know the concept of like a Reynolds number. Like in turbulent flow versus laminar flow, it's like, how could you possibly solve? That's like, you have to discover new physics. You have to be like, there's no way to solve that problem. The problem was worth, I think, like 40 points. I think the highest score. I got 10 points on that question, and all I did was write like a relevant equation I thought that had to do with air resistance. And even though I wrote out the equation for air resistance and didn't substitute anything in or compare it to anything or do any more work, I wrote the equation down wrong. And I had like 3 textbooks in all of my notes, so I didn't even copy the equation down mindlessly correctly, and I got the highest score on that problem. It's like, what? There was another question I remember where it was like, okay, so you have like a conveyor belt going, and this is all, we haven't solved problems like this. Most problems, especially in an undergraduate class, the way that an undergraduate physics class works is, for every subject, every topic, there are like 3 or 4 archetypical problems that have like the way that you solve them is kind of like there's an algorithm for it. There's like a procedure. It's like first you use this equation, then you add in whatever else. You solve the related integral, a differential equation, and then you make like an approximation. And that's like the formula to solve the question, right? None of these problems were like any problem anyone had ever seen before. They were all fresh off the top of the dome. It's crazy. So this other problem was there's a conveyor belt and it's moving, and there's like there's gravel falling down onto the conveyor belt, and there's gravel falling off of the conveyor belt and sort of like gripping the conveyor belt a little and like moving. And so the question was, I think, what is the force necessary to keep the conveyor belt moving at a constant velocity? And so you have to, and that's it. That's like all that you have to go off of. And you've never seen a problem like that before. So you have to be like, okay, well, I guess there's like an instantaneous impulse where the gravel that's just hitting the conveyor belt and has like vertical velocity has to be like accelerated in that direction. But then you have to think the end of the conveyor belt, there's like mass falling off and giving like a torque onto like the end of the conveyor belt, like pushing it. So like in a way, if you make the right kind of approximations, he's described like a perpetual motion machine. But if you don't, then you have to actually do the physics. It's non-trivial, and you have to figure out how to okay. It's fucked up. Coincidentally, or maybe not so coincidentally, it's actually the most fun I've ever had in a physics class because nobody took it seriously. It was like a playground. It was really irresponsible because if you weren't doing well in the class, there was nothing you could really do about it. You just had to get better at physics. There wasn't like, oh, I should really study like chapter 6. It was like, no, I should really like reincarnate as someone who just has like a better natural intuition for this craft, or fragment the last like 10 years of my educational experience so that I can build like the basic skills that I need to be able to navigate these impossible questions that I'm being asked. I don't remember what instigated this discussion. Not person. Semet coming up with the chess variant. I mean, Semet, are you supposed to also be able to rotate the volumetric camera looking at the Klein bottle? Yes, that's what I'm saying I want the functionality to be. I would like to be able, this is what the blue arrow means, so that you can both rotate, like in terms of, like I want to also be able to see the view of this from like behind. Slash from under slash above, but also I want like a scroll wheel kind of, so that like you're scrolling up like this, and what that means is that suddenly this pawn is up here now. Actually, God, where are the tools? I don't know the hotkeys for paint. I'm sorry, chat. You know what I mean? So like you're rewrapping the Klein bottle around so that you can see from like a different, you get what I mean. Check the Discord general channel, please. As an alternative, you can also work with just a 2D projection. No. I completely know. And I started the discussion by saying you could absolutely, like trivially on an actual real chessboard, do this and just say, trust me, the way that I've set the rules for like connectedness and gameplay on the 2D board results in mathematically the game being played on like a cylinder or the real projective space or something like that. But that's way less satisfying, doesn't make for as good content, it's less accessible, etc. So in fact, I've actually already done this. I did this in like an afternoon as an undergraduate. So there are many things wrong with this. Don't pay no attention to the specifics. You don't have to correct me because I already understand why this is like wrong. But this is the idea, right? So I did it with 2 chessboards and they had a certain connectedness. Okay. This was like freshman year of college, maybe, yeah, that's freshman year of college. And you have 2 boards and they're connected in a way so that when you make a move this is the starting layout. One of them's the white starting board, one of them's the black starting board. When you make a move from one board to the other board, you end up on the other board based on where you left the edge. You line up like color coordinated so that like if a pawn moves from here up off this board 1 square, it ends up here. And all of these are the promotion squares and like everything. So this shows you that if you move diagonally off of one of the boards, you end up diagonally back on the opposite side of the same board, just because you're using squares and like the metric isn't the norm. Don't worry about it. These are all the possible knight moves for a knight on one of these boards. And then this is like diagonal movement for a queen / horizontal movement for a queen. This is not actually what those 2 lines represent, right? So I'm completely aware, is my point, of the fact that you can just do it 2D. I've done it 2D. That's not what I want to do. Also, I want it to be shiftable. So that's the other part, right? So it's not just this. It's the fact that there's Klein bottle chess, but then there's also, okay, no, the Klein bottle is Comic Sans. We're going to say, Cambria math is, I have to draw you know what? We'll just go with real projective space. This is ambitious for me. Okay, so as on your turn in topology chess, you can change the topology from, is this the same thickness? Is this the same thickness? That looks about right. From Klein bottle to real projective space. and you have to go, and so it will change the connectedness of the board. How the fuck do you draw real projective space? Real projective space, technically it's the real projective plane. Who cares? Okay. Oh, Jesus Christ. All right, wait, I can do this. Okay. Okay, so that then you have a crease, which will show with like a thinner line. Let me get through this. That knight on the board has seen some shit. Okay, wait, it'll make sense when I draw the grid. Okay, and so the chess checkerboard looks like this. If anyone is unfamiliar with the real projective plane, I can't help you. You're watching me describe topology chess. There's only so much I can do for you. Okay, so now you have like the green square. Okay, and then that means that the horsey is there. You know what I mean? And you can switch between the two and other additional topologies live. And that's like part of the game. So this is my idea for topology chess. And I still need to maybe, okay, it'll be helpful, I guess, if I probably shouldn't have drawn the bottom of this. That made it so much less clear what's going on. Whatever. You get what I'm saying. Okay. So the chess variant that I'm trying to program, or that I need someone's help to implement, is a chess variant where the connectedness of the chessboard is like dynamic, and you can use like a move to change the connectedness of the board in like a meaningful way. Okay? Bring a Ouija board to your physics exam. Seems easy enough. All I need is a programmer, scientist, chess player to make this. That's what I'm saying. Isn't that what my chat is full of, like, collectively? Okay, 4D minor just has it so that if you hold the middle mouse button down, then moving the mouse up and down controls reel, and moving it left, right controls twirl. Yeah, that's the one! Sophia, that's what the fuck I'm talking about. That's what I want for this. You get what I'm saying? That is a penis? What's a penis? What on this... What? Poison. Substantiate your claims. Tell me what is the penis here. And let's, for people who are like joining in live, let's say... Okay. And move this. What is the... Is the image behind like refracting as I move the text box? Is there ray tracing in MS Paint? What's happening? What are the other topologies just to flesh this idea out? Spherical chess for sure. We need to have sphere chess. Everybody knows that you have to have sphere chess, dude. Maybe aerial? I think that fits. Oh God, this is gonna be the most embarrassing one because everyone knows what a sphere is supposed to look like. Honestly, could have been a lot worse, right? I feel pretty good about that. You know what? That's good enough. We'll put the pawn here. And then the Cursed Knight. That's the sequel to the... That's the untold Christopher Nolan film. You know what? That's gonna have to do it. Okay, we've got sphere. I put it on the wrong square. There. Okay. It's like cutting along a file. Yes! Exactly, Andre understands. It's that simple. Changing connectedness. I haven't decided exactly how yet, but it's basically like severing one of the connections in one of the dimensions and then like re-gluing it with either a twist or like with a different, you know, like you're slicing it back up into like a 2D and then refolding it in a way that like works. It doesn't matter what you have on screen, people will interpret it as genitals. Fair enough. I guess I just look like a dick. Final question, don't you mean Mobius strip chess? No, Mobius strip can be one of the, I just like the ones where it's connected in 2 dimensions because that's more interesting, but Mobius strip chess is a thing. Mobius will be one of the connectednesses, the way that cylindrical will be one of the connectednesses. Sphere chess is affordable. I'm sure someone has made, you can make, it's just a globe with a grid. Like, that's easy. I'm not saying none of these exist already. I would be surprised if some crazy fuck made climb bottle chess before I made climb bottle chess. You know, we're not done yet, by the way. I still have to draw a torus. What are going to be the poles for spherical chess? You decide dynamically. I haven't decided how the mechanics work. Also, how does warping work? I don't have totally the specifics down, but there should be a way where you just like cut along a seam and you like re-glue, and suddenly like there's, you know, you're not allowed to do that if it would like immediately end up with you in check or something like that, but you would be allowed to do that if it put your opponent in check, and you wouldn't be allowed as the opponent to immediately undo it. There would have to be some number of turns where, or maybe it would be like time travel, like timeline advantage, like timeline priority in 5D chess, where when one person makes a cut, they can't make another cut until the other person changes the topology or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Would a cylinder be functionally different than Mobius? Yes, for sure it would be. Okay, if you have a piece here, in cylinder chess, you would leave the board here and end up here on this square, okay? In Mobius chess, you would leave the board here and end up on this square. You get what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Okay, so if it was cylinder chess, you could only move up to the top here and you couldn't keep going. But in sphere chess, there has to be a way where you move up and then you can go down the other side. You know what I mean? So like in cylinder chess, again, we'll use this. You go up here and you can't go up any further. In sphere chess, if you go up here, like from down here, you go up here, then you end up here and you go down like that. I sent 2 different versions of spherical topology in your Discord general chat. Torus is wrong. Torus certainly is wrong, because torus is the same as climb bottle. The arrows should be pointing in the same direction for torus. So like, yeah, you can either do the sphere like this, which takes like the square and then wraps like adjacent sides together, or you can do the sphere where you take the cylinder and then you like contract the ends to one point. I think that's the way that makes more sense. Cement sphere gluing? Yeah. No, this is what I'm saying. This is what I just said. For anyone who has no idea what the fuck anybody's talking about, by the way, what this picture shows you is how you can get these shapes out of a square. What you do is you fold and glue together sides of this square so that arrows that are like the same number of arrows meet each other facing the same direction. So like for a cylinder, you want the 2 single upward arrows to meet. So you take the ends of the paper and you just wrap them around, and that makes a cylinder, like in the real life. Okay, so facing the same direction, what you want to do is glue the edges so that the arrows are facing the same way, right? So here you would fold it like that, and that's obviously a cylinder. Right? So cylinder is easy. So now I've drawn single arrows and double arrows. So what you want is for the single arrows to be folded up so that they meet each other, and also you want the double arrows to be folded up so that they meet each other, right? So if you fold up the double arrows so that they meet, then you get a cylinder just like you did with the other, with the single arrows. There. So you've got a regular old cylinder, and then you've got these these, oops, these arrows on the two sides here that you can see, and they're both facing the same direction. Now, if you want to overlap those two arrows, you have to fold it like this way and glue it like that. And what you get, I promise, is a donut. Because it's paper and it's pretty big, it doesn't fold in the right way, but this is like, topologically, it's a torus, right? So that is what this notation is referring to. Based on how you, like similarly for the Mobius, it's just like the cylinder, but instead of just wrapping it around like this to get like your regular old cylinder, what you do is you first put a twist on it, and then you wrap it around and glue it together. And that's how you get a Mobius strip instead of a cylinder. So that works for the ones where you can kind of like think about it in a way that like makes sense, like the torus. And then it's harder for the ones that like are like the non-orientable ones, the ones that don't like immerse without self intersection in the third dimension, like the Klein bottle and the real projective plane, which are a lot harder to imagine and a lot harder to do with a single sheet of like yellow legal paper. But that's what this means. Now, for this sphere, there are two different ways to do this. Who decided the aspect ratio of legal pads? Is there like a history on why this, if anyone has any literature on like why legal pads are uniformly like standardized to the legal pad dimensions, hit me up. Because I think we haven't gone on enough tangents this stream. I'm kind of afraid that the content is suffering because my train of thought is way too linear. Hey, that's not too bad. Okay, so now I've got a square piece of paper. And so what this sphere is saying is you take the adjacent edges, like these two edges meet, and then these two edges meet. And the resulting shape is like a closed, it's like an empanada, I guess. But if you were to like, if this was like an empanada made of like dough, then I would be able to form it without tearing it or cutting it or puncturing it in any way so that it was like a round ball. You know, it would be topologically equivalent to a sphere. But another way to make a sphere is to take a cylinder like this. So like it's like a tube, it's a straw. And then you just pinch the two ends like that. And this is also topologically a sphere, but doing it this way is like way more tractable in terms of like the relationships between like the squares and pieces on a chessboard, like the way that pawns move, the way that check happens, like the connectedness, the fact that there's like a white side and a black side, etc. That's the way that I would do it. So instead of this way, with this sphere, I would do it this way, where you have the sides and then the tops and the bottoms, they go together, you know? That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's made so a rook moving up exits offset by 4 files. Cubics fucking nailed it. All right. So that's how you know what? I'm going to keep this guy. He's kind of cute. I like him. And then what have I not done? I haven't done Taurus. I'm such a fucking dingus. Okay, chat. Fuck. How can we forget donuts? Okay. The real question is what font a donut is. Man, the more... If I was matching them up, I would definitely make Taurus Comic Sans, but I started with the Klein bottle being Comic Sans. But I think the non-orientable ones have to actually be serif fonts. You know what I mean? Klein bottle looks like it's in Comic Sans. Well, that's true. It does actually look like it's... Oh, it's like the dopiness. That was the issue, right? I think you convinced me, because this image really looks like it looks like the image is Comic Sans. You know what I mean? So actually, I'm on board. Well done. No, I'm convinced. Okay, what does that make the Taurus? This is taking me so much longer than anything else. I have always liked Franklin Gothic Medium. I think it's underrepresented in the canon. I don't like the script ones. It's too post-ironic. Chat, have we... Is this one tangent too far? You know what? I like Unispace. Some might disagree, but it's done. What's done is done. That's not terrible, right? I'm not cut out for this. This is so much more stressful than my 5D chess league match today. No! This could be the rest of the stream. I just need to move quickly and accept. I just need to move quickly and accept my choices, right? Okay, let's think. The top here, let's give ourselves like key points. The top here is going to be close to how it should be, like that. And then here it would be like in the middle basically, right? So let's just follow that. Okay, we did it. We did it. Okay, now we just need the lines. Honestly, that could have been way worse, chat. So we need to have boom, and then boom, and then we need blurst duck knight, right? There. Chat. It's my magnum opus. There. That's topology chess. There's also, okay. Okay. That's my pitch, chat. This is what I'm talking about. Man, that torus is well drawn. Honestly. Yeah. Anyway, I'm trying to make this. So DM me if you can and have the capacity to and the desire to help me make this. I have a question for this. Summit, can you start the Klein bottle anywhere? You have to decide where to start the Klein bottle. You have to like basically pick like an line on the 2x2 representation of the board to choose where to like start the Klein bottle. You know what I mean? Can you create the sphere poles anywhere? Same thing. For the sphere poles, I think you have to be like on the 2x2 representation. This is the sphere pole. And that's like where this happens, you know? And then you would like sever this, and then like the pole, one of the poles would be like, if you choose this line, then one of the, this is the North Pole and this is the South Pole, if that makes sense. Right, Mobius chess. My favorite part was when he said Mobius chess and the board became non-orientable everywhere. Oh, actually, I reversed what these should look like. Whatever, that's fine. I've already made my non-orientable bed. Now I have to sleep in it. Okay. All right. It's a cylinder and flat aren't interesting to, you know, actually, can you edit text boxes in